In both ancient Sparta and the modern military, the body belongs to the institution, shaped, disciplined, and displayed not for the individual, but for the survival and power of the state. Imagine being taken from your family at age 7. You are underfed by design, forced to compete in violent games in the nude, watched by state officials who decide whether you're fit to be a citizen. This wasn't a punishment. This was Sparta's educational system. And if it sounds familiar to anyone who's been through military basic training, it's not a coincidence. In both ancient Sparta and the modern military, the body belongs to the institution, shaped and displayed not for the individual benefit, but for the survival and power of the state. To truly understand how this worked in the ancient world, we need to look at Sparta specifically. The Spartan state didn't just encourage fitness, it mandated the purpose of the body before the individual had any say in the matter. The notorious lawgiver Lycurgus ordered that female citizens do, quote, no less bodybuilding than the male, not for their own benefit, but because, in Xenophon's words, stronger children come from parents who are both strong. The body was trained for what it could produce for the state, not for the person living inside of it. This logic extended to public spectacle. The Greek writer Lucian describes Spartan boys being flogged at the altar of Artemis while their parents watched. And not only did they watch, but they demanded that they would endure. For those who survived without flinching received statues erected at public expense. The body's pain was performed for an audience, and the state rewarded endurance with commemoration. This artifact, a Panathenaic prize amphora produced around 530 BCE, makes that institutional logic visible. State produced, state filled, state awarded. Athens incentivized bodies through reward. Sparta disciplined them through coercion. Different mechanisms, identical logic. The body serves the state. This institutional logic didn't die with ancient Greece. The modern military operates on the same foundational principle that the recruit's body belongs to the institution from the moment they enlist. The sociologist Kevin McSorley, drawing on Foucault, describes the military as a laboratory of disciplinary power, where recruits undergo deliberate corporeal transformation. Their bodies reshaped not for personal achievement, but for institutional function. Anyone who has been through military basic training knows this is an abstract theory. The Navy Physical Readiness Test doesn't measure your fitness. It measures whether your body meets the institution's minimum standard for ownership. Fall below that standard, and you don't belong. It's the same logic Lycurgus applied in 375 BCE. The body's value is defined entirely by what it can do for the state. The military doesn't just test the body, it transforms it through deliberate institutional choreography. Recruits wake, eat, train, and sleep on schedules they didn't design, in uniforms that erase individual identity, performing physical standards that exist before they arrive and will exist after they leave. The body that emerges from basic training is institutionally produced, just as the Spartan boy who survived the agoge was produced by a state system, not by personal ambition. What does it mean when the state owns the body? It means that individual excellence is always complicated by institutional purpose. Kyniska became the first woman to win at Olympia, but ancient sources tell us her brother, Agesilaus, pressured her to enter specifically to make a political point about Spartan wealth. Her victory was real, but it was engineered. The same tension exists in every military. Soldiers build the fittest, most disciplined bodies of their lives, but they build them to institutional spec, for institutional purposes, on institutional time. The Spartans understood something the modern military has never forgotten. Control the body, and you control the citizen. The institution doesn't just train the body, it owns it.